There's something strange that happens once we cross 65. It's like the world quietly starts nudging us toward the sidelines. People speak a little louder, a little slower, as if we've all suddenly become fragile or irrelevant. But here's the thing no one tells you. The real danger after 65 isn't just aging. It's what we stop doing. It's the habits we slide into because they feel comfortable, or because we think we're too old to do otherwise. And let me be blunt, some of these habits, they're stupid. That's right. No one warns you about them, but they're slowly chipping away at your freedom, your health, your joy. And today, we're going to talk about 7 of them. 7 things to stop doing, not tomorrow, not next year, but right now. Let's start with one that's far more dangerous than people think. Saying, "I'm too old for that." You've heard it. You may have even said it. Maybe someone invited you to try a dance class, go on a weekend trip, or download a new app, and your first response was, "I'm too old for that kind of thing." But that sentence? That's not just words. That's a slow surrender. It's a quiet permission slip to shrink your world just a little more. And every time you say it, the walls close in. I once met a gentleman named Harold, 73 years old, a former school principal, sharp as a tack. He used to play guitar in his youth, but hadn't touched the strings in over 30 years. One day, his granddaughter asked him to play a song for her school project. His response? "Sweetheart, I'm too old for that now." She looked at him and said, "You're only too old if you've decided to stop trying." That moment changed him. He picked up that guitar again. Was it hard? Sure. His fingers didn't move like they used to. But 2 months later, he was performing at a community event with tears in his eyes, not because he nailed every note, but because he remembered what it felt like to be alive. That's the heart of it. Saying, "I'm too old," is not about protecting yourself. It's about giving up on what might still be possible. And the truth is, if you're still breathing, there's still more to do. You can learn a new skill, travel somewhere you've never been, join a club, or start a project that excites you. Your age is not the ceiling. It's just the floor you're standing on. And every step forward is a statement, a declaration that you're not done yet. Now let's talk about the second stupid thing people over 65 are doing. And this one is tricky because it comes from trust, but it can lead to something very dangerous. It's letting doctors make every decision for you. Now don't get me wrong, doctors are important. Their knowledge saves lives. But what happens too often is that once we hit a certain age, we stop asking questions. We nod, we take the prescriptions, we follow the instructions, and we stop being active participants in our own health. I can't tell you how many people I've spoken to who are on 6, 7, even 10 medications, and they don't know what half of them are for. There was one woman I remember clearly. Her name was Eleanor. She was 69 when we met, full of wit and charm, but always tired, foggy, and achy. When we sat down and looked at her medication list, she said, "Well, the doctor says I need them all." But no one had ever reviewed whether some of those drugs were clashing, or if her symptoms were from side effects. After talking with a new doctor who actually listened, she ended up cutting her medications in half, and her energy returned like a light switch flipping on. The lesson here isn't to distrust your doctor. It's to take ownership of your health. You have every right to ask, "Why am I taking this? What are the side effects? Is there a natural alternative?" You have the right to research, to question, to seek a second opinion. Because the older we get, the more sensitive our bodies become to chemicals. What worked for you at 45 might not be safe at 75. And sometimes a better diet, a bit more exercise, or even therapy can do more than a pill ever could. Doctors are experts, but they are not you. They don't live in your body. They don't feel your fatigue, your aches, your anxieties. You do. And that means you have to advocate for yourself. Learn what you're putting in your body. Make decisions alongside your doctor, not beneath them. Because once you stop being an active part of your health journey, you're handing over your independence one pill at a time. So yes, it starts with a sentence, "I'm too old for that," and continues with silent compliance. But it doesn't have to. You can reclaim your voice. You can reclaim your choices. And the minute you do, something shifts. You begin to feel present again. You begin to feel powerful again. And that's where vitality begins, not in a bottle, but in the decision to show up for yourself every single day. Now let's get into something that seems harmless, but might be the most silent killer of all. Sitting. That's right, sitting all day, every day. It sounds simple, even innocent. After all, what's the harm in relaxing in your favorite chair, watching TV, reading, or just resting your legs? The problem is that when sitting becomes your default state, it slowly starts to take everything else down with it. Your muscles, your bones, your balance, your energy, and worst of all, your mind. There's an old man I used to see every morning at the park. His name was Mr. Kenley, 82 years old, always in motion. One day I asked him, "What's your secret?" He laughed and said, "I keep moving because the moment I stop, my body will think it's time to shut down." And he's not wrong. The body is like a living engine. It needs motion to stay alive. When you sit too long, your circulation slows, your muscles weaken, your posture suffers, and you start to lose the basic strength and flexibility that keeps you safe from falls, from injury, even from depression. Let me tell you something powerful. Your brain needs your body to move, not just for strength, but for sharpness. Physical movement boosts blood flow to the brain, triggers the release of chemicals that improve memory and mood, and helps regulate your entire nervous system. Even a short walk, just 10 minutes a day, can do wonders for your mind. You're not just walking for your heart or your legs. You're walking for your mind to stay alive. But it's not just about physical decline. There's something else that happens when you stop moving. Your world gets smaller. At first, it's just skipping the walk to the mailbox. Then you start asking someone else to get the groceries. Before you know it, your day is limited to the chair in the living room and a slow shuffle to the kitchen and back. And slowly, your sense of independence shrinks with it. You don't need to become a fitness guru. No one's asking you to run marathons or lift weights at the gym. But you do need to stretch, to stand, to take the stairs when you can, to walk even when it's cold, even when it's inconvenient, even when your knees ache a little. That pain? It's not a signal to stop. Sometimes it's just your body begging to be used again. When you move, even just a little, you're telling your body, "I'm still here. I still matter." That brings us to something much deeper, something that lives in the mind and heart. It's another trap many fall into without realizing it. I'm talking about the habit of living in regret and nostalgia. Look, it's easy to get caught up in the used to be. You remember your career, your youth, your family when the house was full. You remember when your body didn't ache, when the days felt longer, and the future felt wide open. And before you know it, you start measuring everything now against how things used to be, and it never quite matches up. But here's the truth. The past isn't better. It's just familiar. And familiarity has a way of tricking us into thinking it was perfect. But let's be honest, the past had struggles too. It had heartbreaks, stress, illness, confusion, and fear. We forget that part. And when we romanticize it too much, we start to resent the present moment. We start treating today like it's something lesser, like it's leftover scraps compared to the feast that was yesterday. That's dangerous, because life only ever happens now, right now. This moment, this breath, this cup of tea, this quiet afternoon, this conversation, this is it. This is where your power still lives. And if you're constantly staring backwards, you miss the treasures lying right in front of you. I knew a woman named Darlene. She was 76 and carried an old photo in her purse of her and her husband from their wedding day. Young, glowing, full of hope. She'd pull it out and stare at it whenever she felt sad. One day she said to me, "I just wish I could go back there." I looked at her and said gently, "But what if he's still here now? What if the love you had back then is still alive in the way you water the plants he liked, or in the way you smile at his favorite song?" She blinked and got quiet. And then she said something I'll never forget. "I've been chasing ghosts when maybe I should be sharing stories." That's the shift. The past isn't something to return to. It's something to cherish, to draw strength from, and then move forward. You don't honor your memories by living in them. You honor them by carrying them into today. By showing your grandchildren what strength looks like. By teaching others what you've learned. By living in a way that says, yes, I've been through much, and I'm still here. And let's not forget about regret. That one's even sneakier. You think of the things you didn't do, the apologies you never made, the chances you never took. And that little voice whispers, it's too late. But let me tell you, it's not. It's never too late to forgive yourself. Never too late to reach out. Never too late to grow. You can always choose healing over guilt. And that choice starts with how you talk to yourself. When you wake up in the morning, instead of thinking, what have I lost? Ask yourself, what do I still have? The warmth of the sun on your face, the smell of coffee, the sound of a child laughing nearby. Those things matter. And you're still here to experience them. That's a gift many never get. So don't let the weight of what was rob you of what still is. Regret won't heal the past, and nostalgia won't carry you forward. But gratitude will plant your feet in the present. And from there, you can build something beautiful. No matter your age, no matter your aches, no matter your story. Now we've talked about regrets and memories, but let's shift to something a little more uncomfortable, yet absolutely necessary. And that's this. At your age, you no longer owe anyone access to your peace. So let me say this clearly. Stop tolerating toxic people. For far too long, many of us were raised to believe that keeping the peace meant keeping quiet. We were taught to be polite, to not make waves, to respect our elders, or be the bigger person, even if that meant tolerating people who drained us, dismissed us, or outright disrespected us. But now, after 65, that rule book needs to be rewritten. There comes a point where kindness to others must not come at the cost of cruelty to yourself. If someone makes you feel small, makes you feel unworthy, makes you dread their phone call or their visit, that's not family. That's not love. That's a leak in your emotional boat. And if you keep letting it drip, eventually you sink. I remember hearing about a man named Walter. He was 71, gentle soul, always did everything for everyone. His adult son would show up only when he needed money, never called to check in, never stayed longer than he had to. And Walter, out of guilt and love, kept giving, kept excusing, kept tolerating. Until one day he realized, I've been giving to someone who never once gave back. I've spent the last 10 years hoping for a kind word that never came. That realization hurt, but it also freed him. He set a boundary, not out of anger, but out of self-respect. And you know what happened? He started smiling again. Setting boundaries isn't selfish. It's survival. You are allowed to protect your energy. You are allowed to say, no, I will not be treated this way. That includes toxic friends, siblings, even your own children. Love does not mean tolerating disrespect. You can love someone and still decide they're not healthy for your life right now. And here's the truth. When you let go of the people who constantly pull you down, you make space for people who lift you up. You might find a new friend at the community center. You might reconnect with an old neighbor. Or maybe you'll finally have the quiet peace you've always deserved. You've got to remember, your time, your attention, your presence, these are valuable. If someone makes you feel like you don't matter, maybe they don't deserve what you bring to the table. Don't let guilt keep you tethered to pain. You've earned peace. Don't trade it for obligation. Now, let's shift gears and talk about something that makes a lot of people over 65 roll their eyes. But please, don't tune out, because this one's important. I'm talking about technology. And yes, I can hear some of you already. Oh no, I'm too old to learn all that. But we already covered that in part 1, didn't we? Look, avoiding technology doesn't make you old. But embracing it? That keeps you young. And no, you don't need to become some tech genius, scrolling through social media all day or learning to code. What you need is just enough to stay connected, informed, and safe. I once sat with a woman named Carla. She was 68, bright, thoughtful, full of stories, but she had no idea how to send a photo on her phone. Her grandchildren lived in another state, and she barely heard from them. One day, her daughter set her up on video calls. That first time she saw her grandbaby's face on screen, her whole expression changed. Her eyes lit up like someone had just given her 10 extra years to live. And you know what she said? "I didn't know how lonely I was until I saw her smile again." That's what this is about. Technology isn't about gadgets. It's about connection. It's about not being left behind in a world that's changing fast. It's about being able to send message, check in on the weather, book a doctor's appointment, or video chat with someone you love, without feeling helpless or dependent on someone else. And let me say this loud and clear, asking for help is not weakness. It's a strength. If you don't know how to use your phone fully, ask your grandchild. Ask the teenager next door. Ask the staff at the library. People love to help, and you might just form a bond in the process. Being able to do these small things gives you independence. The world is becoming more digital every day. Banking, medical care, transportation, even community groups, they're all online now. The longer you resist learning, the more isolated you become. And you don't deserve that. The beautiful thing about technology is that it opens doors. You can take an online painting class, watch a documentary on a topic you've always loved, join a Zoom group of other seniors across the country who share your interests. The possibilities are endless. But first, you have to be willing to learn. And learning doesn't stop at 65, or 70, or 90. You've already learned how to navigate life through the toughest decades: jobs, war, loss, raising families, caring for others. Compared to all that, a smartphone is nothing. So don't say, "That's not for me." Say, "Show me how." The world is still moving. And I promise you, it's a lot more fun when you move with it. We've covered a lot so far, but there's one final habit that might be the most dangerous of them all. And it's also the most invisible. It's something that creeps in slowly, quietly, without making a scene. I'm talking about isolation. And if you're over 65, chances are you felt its cold fingers on your shoulder at least once. Let's be honest. Life shifts as we age. Friends move away, some pass on. Children get busy with their own families. The house gets quieter. Your calendar gets emptier. And little by little, the silence becomes normal. You tell yourself you enjoy the peace, that you've earned your rest. But the truth is, we weren't meant to live in silence. Not like this. Human beings are social creatures. We're wired for connection, for conversation, for eye contact and laughter, and someone to say, "I'm glad you're here." And when that's missing, it doesn't just feel lonely. It actually affects your health. Isolation has been linked to higher rates of depression, memory loss, even early death. It weakens the immune system. It dulls the brain. It breaks the spirit. But here's the most painful part. Many older adults don't even realize they're isolated. It becomes routine. You wake up, drink your coffee alone, maybe watch some TV, maybe take a nap, and before you know it, the day is gone, and you haven't said a single word to another human being. That's not peace. That's quite despair. There was a man I met named Frank. He was 74 and lived alone after his wife passed. He told me, "It's not the silence that hurts. It's the feeling that no one would notice if I disappeared." That's the heartbreak of isolation. It tells you that you don't matter anymore. And that is a lie. You do matter. You have stories no one else has lived, wisdom no one else has earned, love no one else can give. The world still needs you, but the world can't find you if you hide away from it. So here's the challenge. Don't wait for someone to reach out to you. You reach out. Call an old friend. Join a walking group. Sign up for a book club or a weekly class. Volunteer at your church or your local library. Go to a cafe where they know your name. Even if it feels awkward at first, even if your hands shake a little when you introduce yourself, do it anyway. And yes, use technology if that's what it takes. Learn how to video chat with your family. Leave a voice message. Send a funny photo. It doesn't have to be perfect. It just has to be you. You only need 1 or 2 meaningful connections to feel human again, to feel seen, to feel alive. And sometimes, reaching out to someone else isn't just saving yourself. It might be saving them too. Because you're not the only one feeling this way. Someone out there is waiting for you to show up. Now, let's bring this full circle. We've talked about 7 things, 7 stupid, subtle habits that can quietly steal your health, your joy, your identity if you're not careful. But here's the powerful truth. You can stop all of them starting today. You can stop saying, "I'm too old for that," and start trying new things again. You can stop handing your health over to someone else and start asking questions. You can stop sitting your days away and start moving, even just a little. You can stop living in the past and begin noticing the beauty of the moment in front of you. You can stop tolerating toxic people and start protecting your peace. You can stop running from technology and use it to connect, to learn, to grow. And you can stop isolating yourself and step back into the world that still wants to hear your voice. You are not done yet. You're not irrelevant. You're not invisible. You're just in a new chapter. And like any good story, it can still surprise you. One more thing. Don't let anyone, not society, not even your own mind, convince you that life slows down after 65. That's nonsense. Life doesn't slow down. People do. And only if they choose to. But you've made it this far. You've been through storms. You've carried more than most could bear. And you're still here. So don't fade away. Show up. Speak up. Move. Laugh. Ask for help. Say no. Say yes. Say I still matter. Because you do. And if this message spoke to you, if it reminded you of something you've forgotten, then do one more thing. Like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share it with someone who needs to hear it too. A friend, a neighbor, a family member, anyone who might be quietly slipping into one of these habits without realizing it. The sunset years can be just as breathtaking as the sunrise, but only if you're awake enough to see them. So stay awake, stay involved, stay alive. We'll see you in the next one.